playground where the players play. I am your host. My name is Eddie Fluellen, and my guest on the playground today is Dorian Holley. Let me give you a little bit about Dorian. And I'm just going to give you a little bit now because we're going to go like even farther, like a little bit later. But just to start, Dorian, vocalist, lead vocalist, songwriter, producer, arranger, band leader, of course, of the Dorian Holley Band, right? Music director, American Idol vocal coach. And we're going to get to that too. Also, lead vocalist. Again, we touched upon that, but he was one of the lead vocalists with the Ricky Minor Band, who was the band on the Jay Leno Tonight Show. So, without further ado, Dorian Holley, welcome to the playground.
Hey, Eddie, man. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
I'm glad this worked out. I'm
As
glad
you
could
well
be
know,
here.
it's always, it's always a mixed bag when the people are talking about your credits because it's like it's a little embarrassing, and you just kind of want to like, I wish I wasn't here for that part.
and again, we're just scratching. We're barely scratching the surface as far as everything Dorian has done. So and continues to do to this day. So first of all, let me ask you, like this whole what I like to call the mess, because it's hard for me to say COVID-19. I'm still struggling with that one. But with this mess that we're living in, how are you doing? How are you adjusting?
I believe as well as anyone else. It's obviously it's difficult. This has been a huge adjustment for all of us. From the beginning, thinking it wouldn't last too long, and predicting, okay, a couple of months will be a few months inside, we can deal with it, to go into 4 months to 6 months to, now it's November, and I mean, it's hard to believe, but I'm at home with my wife and my youngest daughter. My eldest comes over a couple of times a week, or I go to her house. So, we're coping with it. And we haven't had too many family eruptions,
Not too many.
not too many, no, really,
Uh-huh.
just a couple,
I understand. Right.
and because everybody here is sane and
Mm-hmm.
decent and respectful and loving, and so we're just trying to all supporting each other and trying to get
Excellent.
through it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
How has this adjusted? I'm sorry. How have you adjusted creatively to this? Are you still like doing what you do? Has it been somewhat of a difficulty there? Doing that.
It has been a difficulty because in the beginning, as one might expect, my studio has been like almost ready to be used for ages because I've been too busy to finish it. And so,
Mm.
the first when I realized that this was going to take a while, I was like, you know what, I might as well get my studio together. So I got it. I got my studio together like 90%, 95%, and
Hmm.
then just haven't been moved to write, to create, to do much of anything.
Ah. Okay.
And and then not too long after that, I started giving lessons again. So I have a few voice students, and then this is kind of a funny story.
Hmm.
We went to my mother-in-law's for a birthday for a friend, so there were just six of us over there.
Hmm.
And one of the men and I were talking. We both like old cowboy shows, cowboy movies, cowboy TV.
Oh, same here. Same here.
That's kind of like, black dudes of a certain age, or any guy of a certain age.
Right.
And
Right.
so I texted him after, and I was asking for recommendations for black cowboy movies.
Hmm.
And the ones he knew about, I knew about, and we just couldn't find any more. So I wake up in the middle of the night one night, and I started writing a pilot for a black TV show. And I wrote over the next 43 days. I wrote a pilot for a show that I want to see. And I mean, I was just like, I was in it
Hmm.
and just
Hmm.
blazing, and wrote it. And I'm on like maybe my fifth or sixth draft, and I'm at the point now where I can put it into technical script form, and then I'm gonna start shopping it. And so that was just well, the first thing I wanted to be was a writer from the time
Right.
I was like 11,
Right.
12 years old.
Uh-huh.
And I've been wanting to get back to it, and not having time to get back to it. And so now we got all the time in the world, it seems. So,
Wow. Isn't that something, going back to what you said earlier? And I did want to ask you about that as far as like, being moved to write or create like during this time. Um, uh, when you first of all, the what you're writing, you had mentioned as far as westerns and all that. Is that what this show is about, or is
It
this
is.
about?
It's a cowboy show.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yes.
okay. So how is that adjustment? Like you said, or like you said, as far as like being moved to write or being moved to create, how was that to adjust to
Well,
I mean, us as musicians, I mean, that's what we do. We create, we write, and there's inspiration all around us. When inspiration just like totally stop, I mean, when life stops, you know, how has
yeah,
that been
yeah.
for you? you know?
Yeah, well, it's funny because I read a lot about writing, and I
Mm,
read a lot of, and I love fiction, and I've read how to write books by my favorite authors. I've read
wow.
a grip of them, and I keep notes, and I write just notes about stuff that that I one day I'm going to write a short story about this, or I'm going to write a novel about that, or a movie about that. And so when I went out to write for the first time, pardon me,
Mhm.
I had I kind of jotted down what the idea was, the basic idea, and then I went on to the App Store, and I started looking for script writing apps. And of course, I know about Final Draft Pro, and there are a few that are just in the ether and that are pretty
Right.
ubiquitous.
Hmm.
And then after I saw the ones that I thought I wanted, I went to reviews to see what people thought and which ones were easiest.
Hmm.
And I spent 45 minutes doing that. And I know myself, and I knew that if I spent any more time doing that, that I wouldn't write the show. I'd get bogged. Much like when you are writing a song and you get to choosing sounds, and you get to
Hmm.
choosing drum sounds, and
Right.
a kit, and a road sound, and you can spend a day doing that and never write a song. You
Right.
can spend a
Wow.
week doing it, and how often? Oh, we've all done it. And
Hmm.
so so after I did that for 45 minutes, I said, you know what? I'm going to write this thing. I basically know what a script looks like. I've read scripts before. It doesn't
Hmm.
have to be right. I need to write the story. So I put that aside, and I sat down to write the story. And I just made myself not go off course from writing my story. Get the
Hmm.
story down, and then you can dress it up any way that you want.
Hmm.
But one of the things that's happened to me in the past is another thing that's related to this, but different. If I tell somebody about some idea that I have, the more I tell them about it, the less likely I am to actually create the thing.
Oh.
Because again, my theory is it takes the same amount of energy to create it as it does to talk about it or describe it.
Uh,
And I feel like in my brain or something in me feels like I've done the thing, so now I don't need to do it. So I try not to talk about something when I plan to do
oh.
it.
Okay.
Don't pour any energy that you need to create the thing into talking about it, and
Uh-huh.
go do it, because
Oh.
those things have to remain separate.
Hmm.
And so that's what I did. I went and wrote it, and then I called a couple of friends to see what script writing tools they use, and one recommended one for me, which was something script movie magic script writer or something like
Hmm.
that, and I got that one. And so now I just have to learn how to use that, but the thing is
Gotcha.
written. And once you
Okay.
learn how to use it, you just transport it into the program, and it does everything for you. It formats everything the way it's supposed to be formatted for
Wow.
you.
You
So
said called script writing.
it's movie magic script
Got you.
writer or something like
Got
that.
you.
Yeah.
Okay.
um,
Okay.
and and it's really good. I mean, I looked over it. I looked at reviews for it, and also what my buddy told me. He has friends who work for Final Cut Pro, which is the most used and
Right.
advertised and
Right. It's
talked
almost like
about.
the standard.
And he knows a couple of people that work for them,
Hmm.
and those people said, "This is what I use."
Wow. Okay.
you know,
Okay.
for whatever reason, for the problems with it or the different degree of difficulty, or they
Hmm.
just like
Hmm.
this one better.
Understood. Dorian, I got to ask you now. I didn't. Maybe I missed this or whatever. Have you acted? Have you? Because you said you read like a bunch of scripts. Have you acted before? Or?
I did in high school, and I got acting scholarships to go to college, but that I never used.
You got
And
acting scholarships?
I did.
Wow.
I'm a weird dude, and um,
Aren't we all? Creatives are weird. We all are weird.
I had this notion. First of all, it like when you're reading my credits, I
Mhm.
don't. It bothers me, and it's and it's just my own hang up. I don't know
Mhm.
if there's any legitimacy to it.
Mhm.
I'm not disparaging anybody that does this, but when I hear that a person is a writer, producer, script writer, actor, singer, dancer, blah, 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 blah. And of course, we've all seen people. I mean, first of all, you got to do all those things to work if you're going to have a
Mhm.
career at it.
Mhm.
But when I was a kid, I didn't want to be perceived as a jack of all trades and a master of none.
Mm.
And also, to be honest, I was afraid to go to college. I was afraid to leave and go from having been, one of the big people on campus in high school. I was just afraid of what was out there.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
wasn't really ready to leave home. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew that I loved music, and I knew that music was the thing that I did best.
Mhm.
Even though I couldn't have articulated that to you, somewhere
Mhm.
inside
Mhm.
myself, I knew that. But I
Mhm.
didn't want
Even
to
as a
go.
child.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. But I didn't. I wasn't ready to go out and try to really fall in love with acting and all of that stuff. Also,
Right.
I had a band. I had a Christian band, a gospel band with my brother and my sister, and I kind of felt like I had to give that up to go do the college thing, which I none of those things had to happen. I mean,
Right.
I wish I'd said that to somebody, because someone could have explained to me,
Uh-huh.
you can do all this,
Uh-huh.
it'll be a little difficult, but
Mm.
you
Mhm.
compartmentalize.
Mhm. Mhm.
But I didn't, there's no, nobody was really talking about me. Nobody knew what my fears were. Nobody was talking about me, what my options were.
Mhm.
And so I didn't take them up on the acting scholarships. And so, and I wish I had, because I love to do it.
Mhm.
Um, so, I don't know if I would do it now. There are a couple of dramatic things that are, kind of in talks
Mhm.
for me now, and we'll see how they go. I mean, I have a friend that has a musical that he's been writing, and he expects me to star in, and
Fair enough.
and
And
but
we're not gonna talk too much about that.
there we go.
Okay.
But but I've had some flirtation with the stage the last 2 years, because I created this musical for my with my band that
Uh-huh.
I've been doing, and
Mhm.
I could see me loosening up and doing it. I just it's just not something that I've done in a long time. The acting part.
Okay. Gotta ask you, you were just talking about the band and what you created with the band. Is that the Marvin Gaye
That is,
story?
yeah.
Please talk about that. Because when I saw that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Oh, I mean, yeah, we're about the same age,
Mhm. Mhm.
probably the same musical influences,
Mhm.
of course,
Mhm.
knowing your good
And
friend,
we are the
Philip,
same age too.
Philip
Just putting that
Ingram.
out
Okay. So, actually thought maybe you were much older than me, but, I mean, we actually look like, we look like,
Emphasize, and you notice he emphasized much older.
but look, if somebody walked up and said, are you guys twins? I mean, we look so much alike, we, at the very least, and you from Ohio, we could
Yes.
very easily be cousins, because I got a whole lot of people from Ohio, you know?
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah. So anyway,
And
uh,
oh, I'm sorry. You talk about me being from Ohio. You're born and raised LA.
yes,
You are a rarity.
yeah, my wife too, strangely enough, and we never met.
Wow.
We didn't meet until, the year we got married.
Wow. Like Las Vegas. Anybody from Las Vegas, born and raised in Las Vegas, is like, I mean, now, but I mean, then what? You're a rarity.
Right.
Everybody comes to Las Vegas. Everybody comes to Los Angeles. Nobody's like born and raised there.
Exactly. Exactly.
So anyway, I'm sorry.
Well, my parents, of course, are from the South. They met in
Hmm.
Los Angeles.
Hmm. Hmm.
The great, they were part of the Great Migration,
Right.
and met
Right. Same
here
in Vegas.
and raised
Hmm.
all us kids here.
Hmm.
Yeah, but there's a theater near me where, curiously, I studied as a kid.
Hmm.
It used to be called the Ebony Showcase Theater, and it's now called
Mm.
the Nate Holden Theater, Ebony
Hmm.
Repertory Company. And I had a scholarship to study there for during the summer that I graduated from high school. And I keep pointing as if it's right in the next room. Why do we do stupid stuff like that? Um,
Uh-huh.
it's just a few blocks away.
Uh-huh.
And I have some friends that played that theater, did a concert in the theater. And
Okay.
when I started my band, um, I don't like the idea of people drinking and eating while the band is playing. I want people to be like focused.
Hmm.
It is
Hmm.
nice if people are a little drunk in the music, because it
Hmm.
makes your music
Hmm.
sound better. But that aside, So I like the idea of a theater setting versus a club setting, just
Mm,
classier, cooler.
mhm,
And it took me a few years to play that theater. A friend of mine is the curator of the and the founder of the theater company,
mhm,
but he just, he makes people prove that they can, not only that they have something worthy of presentation in that theater, but that they can put people in there. So it
mhm.
took me a few years to be able to play it, but I did a couple of concerts there with friends, kind of like a second or third banana. Eventually, my daughter and I did a couple of concerts there.
Oh,
Um,
your daughter and your daughter.
uh-huh.
Awesome.
And so then I just got the notion that I wanted to do a Marvin Gaye. I don't like calling it a tribute show, but that's essentially what it is.
Understood. Hmm, hmm.
And so in my the naivete that I'm born with, I put this show together in a few months, and it's a big show. I mean,
Hmm,
16 pieces,
hmm,
strings, horns, singers, two keys, guitar.
hmm.
I mean, the whole
Wow, that's
bit.
massive.
And we cover the whole of his career. We do a
Hmm,
couple of the early Motown songs. We do the best part of the show. My favorite part of the show is we do the What's Going On album, the whole album, just like you heard it for the first time. I kind of
wow.
talk about how the album came to be. We start playing the album, and we don't stop till we get to the end. We go, how every song kind of
Right,
goes. It's a
right.
suite. It's like
Hmm,
a collection.
hmm.
And my guitarist, my band leader, he charted the show
I was going
in
to ask
that
about that.
way.
Hmm.
And I wish, well, uh it's funny. My wife and I went to see Brandy Carlisle do like about a year or more after we started doing our show. We went to
Hmm,
see her she did a Joni Mitchell show,
hmm,
but it
hmm,
was just one album, the Blue
hmm,
album, and she
hmm,
did that in the same way. She did she got some of the people that played on the album, and she did it as one piece, and she took
hmm.
over a year to put it together. And as she was talking about it, I was like, geez, if I'd have known better, I'd have taken a year to
Ah,
do
wow.
mine,
Okay. Uh-huh.
because it's extremely difficult. I mean, we do the What's Going On album, then we go to the 60s, 70s song. I mean, we cover the whole thing,
Hmm,
this whole thing,
hmm,
not every song, obviously, but it's about is it I can't remember if it's 24 or 32 songs that we do. It's a
hmm.
it's a
Wow.
huge
Wow,
show.
that
It
is.
the
24 songs including that album.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I can't
Hmm,
remember the song list. It might be 24.
hmm.
But the main point is, physically it's extremely challenging to do the show.
Mm,
Vocally, I mean, his
I can
voice,
only
I didn't change
imagine.
the keys of any of the songs, even Grapevine I do in his original key.
Wow.
And I did
Wow.
that as a challenge to me,
Hmm,
for me, I should say. And
hmm.
so
How long is
uh
the show, Dorian?
It's
How long
it's
is this?
it's it's just short of 2 hours long because we have an intermission. It's
Okay.
about 2 hours with an intermission.
Hmm.
It's
And
and
you're on the stage singing the whole time.
except for the intermission. I take a little break
Right,
there.
that's what I mean.
Yeah,
Except for that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm doing all the songs. Oh, we also, we do a few of the Tammy Terrell duets
Hmm, hmm,
or duets.
hmm.
Uh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So and after doing 18 shows, um, I am glad I didn't know what I know now,
Ah,
because if I had known how difficult it was to do this show, I wouldn't. I'd have been too scared to do it. I really would have.
yeah.
It just would have. I would have gone like this. I don't believe I have the, and I did it while, working. I mean, it's not like I took off
Oh, right, right, right,
for four
right,
months to put the show together.
right, right, right.
I did it while my life was happening, and
Hmm, hmm.
but there's just so much. There's so much just in, as long as I've been in the business, Eddie, I thought I knew how to rehearse, how to learn
Mm,
songs,
mm,
and I do.
mhm,
What I didn't know was I didn't know how to learn a show.
mm, mm, mhm,
Because when my
mhm,
band does a show of my songs, these are songs that I've written, and we'll add a few covers to them. We'll add a
mhm.
couple of songs and do our own arrangements to them. So whenever I'm doing a show, I'm learning a few songs, a few new songs, but
Right,
I'm not.
right.
But the Marvin songs, even though we think we know them, you know, and the other thing about it is I'm not doing, usually when I do someone's covers, I'm doing Dorian's interpretation of a song, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
if I do an MJ song, I'm not doing it like MJ because that's sure suicide,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
but for the Marvin show, we're doing those songs as much like him. We're doing his
Uh-huh.
arrangements.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing, a bunch of riffs to show you how great I can sing. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I want people to feel the spirit of Marvin when I do
Mm-hmm.
this show.
Right. Got
And
you.
so that's, and the background parts were, in as much as is humanly possible, it's like note for note. And
Mm-hmm.
how his stuff is all layered, and
Right.
so
Right.
you think you know something, and I know you know this. You think you know a song, then you go try to really learn the song. Like if you're, like this happens all the time with the Ricky Minor Band.
Mm-hmm.
We're singing for Gladys Knight, and as much as I think I know Midnight Train to Georgia, when I'm going to learn Midnight Train, I'm going like, all my life I've been singing this thing like this. It doesn't even go
Mm-hmm.
like this. It goes like
Mm-hmm.
that, and
Mm-hmm.
this happens all the time.
Isn't
You
that
know,
something? I mean, when you realize that, and I always tell people, like, especially after you play a song for so long or whatever, it's like you become so far removed from the original version, and then you go back and you're like, oh my gosh, I've been playing this wrong for this long, or whatever,
right, right,
you
right,
know.
right. In
And
some
I told a
cases,
friend of mine, years ago because we were learning like some music as well, and it was me and some other keyboard players in the room or whatever, and I had like just studied this like maybe like a couple of days before or whatever, and I'm like really studying this. So when we get together, it's like, okay, that's not what's on the record, you know.
right, right.
And of course, you're going back. Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. I really said. I'm like, no, no, no.
No,
Listen to it. So finally, me and the music director had a talk the next day, and I'm like, listen, just because it sounds right doesn't mean it is right. You got to go back and listen to stuff. And believe me, I listen to it because I don't want to be called on the carpet, you know. So I can totally relate to what you're saying. It's like, you've been singing it, you've been doing it this way for so long, and now you got to go, like you said, you got to go back and learn it. It's like I thought I
you have
did
to.
learn.
You're right. You got to really learn it.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I mean, and it happens, and it doesn't matter. It could be. I mean, it's just happened. It's happened 100 times, and I know
Mm-hmm.
it'll happen again
Mm-hmm.
because,
And you're talking Marvin Gaye. I mean, whoa, what an undertaking that is.
oh my God, dude, and in my arrogance, I don't think anyone knows Marvin Gaye songs like I do. I don't
Mm-hmm.
care. I don't care if it's El DeBarge. I don't care
Mm-hmm.
who it is. All the Marvin imitators are like, you don't know
Mm-hmm.
Marvin like I know Marvin, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm going like, it's this is how bad it is. We were doing this was about So we've been doing the show now for about the 10 or 11 shows,
Mm-hmm.
and so I was getting ready for another show. So we had guests over, and I was in the yard cleaning the yard. So one of the things I do when I have to practice is I just put the thing on just for repetition.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I put the speaker outside, put it on the table. I was cleaning the table off, and there's a song we've been doing. We've done 10 shows of it, not, and
Mm-hmm.
counting the rehearsals. And I hear a part in this tune that and the What's Going On album, I had 2 vinyls.
Mm-hmm.
I wore out 2 cassettes. I owned 2 or 3 CDs of it, and now
Uh-huh.
I've got it in iTunes. So I know, I mean, and this was all before I started working on the show. I
Oh,
know
oh,
this
okay.
album.
Mm-hmm.
I know this. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's my favorite album of all
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear this part, just this vocal part just jumps out. And I mean, it was like, I couldn't believe that I never heard this part before. It was
Mm-hmm.
just like an
Mm-hmm.
extra little vocal hit. It
Now
was
this is the lead vocal. This is your part,
no, no,
right?
no. It was a background
Oh,
part,
background part. Okay.
but it was like I missed it. My 3 guys missed it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we sat right here in this kitchen and pulled those vocals apart with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Me helping them the most because I knew the record the most. But
Mm-hmm.
all of them are listening at home, and I texted each one. I said, "Have you ever heard this part right here in this section?" And everybody's just like, "No, I don't even know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how that's possible."
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it was so blatant. It was as if someone took the MP3 off my phone and substituted it with a remix of
Wow.
the thing. That's how unbelievable it was that I had never heard this part before.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Just it was like, and I think it was either 2 or 3 words. It was just
Mm-hmm.
like I'm trying to remember which song it was. It was right in the middle of the album. A song that doesn't even have a lot of vocals on it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I need to write it down because I need to remember because it's just such a great story. But
That is
all
that's a
all
great story.
4 of us were mystified
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
and that's one of the reasons why we love music, because great music. This song has been revealing stuff. This album has been revealing new things to me
Hmm.
since the 70s, since I
Wow.
first heard it.
I love stories like that. You go back
Oh
and you
my
listen,
God.
and just like you said at the beginning, you think you know, you know,
Yeah. And it
and
also, the
so
other
many
thing it does,
decades later, it's like, wait a minute.
40 some years later, it's like,
Hmm.
what?
Hmm.
The,
Hmm.
the other thing is however great I thought, and you know, and far as vocals go,
Hmm.
it's Marvin, Donnie, and Stevie, and
Hmm.
everybody else, you know,
Hmm. Hmm.
is
Right.
you
Right.
know.
Hmm.
But however great I thought that album was, because of me having to study it and learn it in a completely different way, it
Got you.
just like it's greater than I thought it was, and I already thought it
Wow.
was the greatest thing ever.
Uh-huh. Right. 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 Wow. And you're
Yeah.
talking like now these shows, these are like sold out shows.
We sold them all out. We sold out
Wow.
18 shows. And I didn't even tell you that this. I don't know. This might be the best part. I plan to do one show. I did all this work because I didn't. I mean I didn't know what I was doing, right?
Hmm.
And I wasn't arrogant enough to know. Oh yeah, I'm going to create this show and I'll be doing it
Hmm.
for the next 2 years. I was like,
Right. Right.
I've never
And I'm
done
gonna sell
anything.
out every one.
No, I didn't. You know.
Uh-huh.
And so I was just first of all, I was praying to the great
I'm
Lord
sure.
above that
Hmm.
we would um, that we could kind of get a decent house, 400 seats
Hmm.
theater, 400
Right.
seats.
Right.
And so we did the show. We sold it out in 2 weeks.
Hmm.
We ended up having to do another show the next day, and then we were doing it because we didn't want to. The repeat audiences. I mean, the
Right.
people keep coming back. The same people keep coming back,
Right.
and each time they bring new people with them. And
Right.
so that it became clear that that was the case. So
Hmm.
it went down to doing it about once a month for
Mm.
a time, and then we took
Hmm.
it out of town and we took it up the coast a bit. But yeah, you know, first of all, if you had told me if I had known how difficult it was, I wouldn't have believed it. If you told
Hmm.
me we'd be able to do it 18, we'd be doing it now if under
If I'm,
normal circumstances. You know,
right.
I mean,
Right.
I haven't even had time to develop a new show for doing that
Hmm.
Marvin show.
Hmm. Hmm. And like I said, that show in and of itself, that's huge. That's huge. Congratulations to you. I mean,
Well,
that
thank
it
you,
was a
man.
success that it was,
It's so
and hopefully it'll pick
gratifying.
back
It's
up.
so gratifying to do that much work and have it see it
Hmm.
really pay off like
Hmm.
that.
Hmm. So
You know.
you're glad you did it.
Oh man, so glad, and so glad I didn't know any better.
E- I was gonna say, even if it was only 3 or 4 months, and
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
it together.
yeah,
Uh,
and it also another thing it speaks to, Eddie, is of we're often afraid to try a new thing
Boy, isn't that the truth?
because we're looking at the result, or is it going to be good, or afraid of judgment, or whatever it is you're afraid of. And if you do your work, I mean, even though this happens to us, we've seen time and time again how it's going to turn out fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
going to turn out fine, and the fear is natural because it's
Mm-hmm.
new.
Right.
You're
Right.
you're walking into the unknown, with a blindfold on.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's part of the reason why God created naivete, so that
Mm.
we wouldn't, so that we could press on and do things without knowledge of. I mean, that's what faith is for,
Mm-hmm. Right.
without
Right.
knowing how it's going to turn out. Because
Mm-hmm.
you put the work in, you do the work. I got the great people working with me.
I was just gonna say you got to have like great people around you, that totally support this.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, they
Wow.
were only there because I was paying them, but
But they still got to be good people though. So, right.
not,
Right.
not like they were saying, "I got your back." They're like,
Right.
"Yeah, I got your back, baby."
Right here. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
You got mine, I got yours.
So, awesome. Awesome. So going back a little, when did you decide? Of course, there are like all these jobs and all that stuff, you know, in LA, you know, being the metropolis that it is or whatever. When did you decide, hey, you know, this is what I want to do, you know, you know, and especially in LA, where you know that's what everybody wants to do. Yeah.
Well, there's going to be a recurring theme in this conversation.
Hmm.
Naivete.
Mm.
I didn't really decide consciously.
Ah. Hmm.
First of all, I started earning a living doing this at 29 years old. You know,
Mm.
most of my friends, probably you and Philip, you know, earning a living at 16, 17, 18, 20 years
Hmm.
old. You know,
Hmm. Hmm.
I somehow
Earning a living? I don't know. Let's just say we made a little bit of money, but earning.
okay.
Anyway, I'm sorry.
No, I feel you. I
Mhm.
know where you're at.
Mhm.
Um, uh, but it just for some reason it didn't connect with me that people were singing on these records. I was reading people's names on the back of records. It didn't occur to me they were being paid to do it.
Mm.
You know,
Mm.
I
Mhm.
knew that I could sing. I knew that obviously they sounded great and they could sing, and I was trying to do what they were doing in my world.
Mhm.
I got my training with my gospel band. I mean, we were together and very, very serious for about 12 years. The year I
I was
graduated.
gonna ask if you sang gospel. I was sure gonna
Oh
ask you
yeah,
that.
oh
Okay.
yeah. Grew up in the
Okay.
church, you know, singing in choir, and that's where I got my musical education.
Uh huh.
Um, and and I was fortunate enough to, you know, that to through connections, I got in a boys' choir when I was eighth grade in junior high. I left my
Mm.
high
Mhm.
school to go to a boys' music school, which
Right.
was, you know, 25 boys that, and we just sang every day.
Right.
And our
Right.
gig on the weekend was singing. And
Mhm.
the school was free, and the jobs that we had paid for everything. But
Mm.
it was a schoolhouse. We had 4 hours of school daily, 4 hours of music daily, and we went to school 6 days a week. We were off one day. But so that and my gospel band after high school, and you know, of course, my choir in high school, and all of the music activities and competitions and all that stuff. That was my education. With my band, we were trying to get a gospel record deal, so I was always writing songs and recording songs, and you know, on a shoestring budget, trying to
Mhm.
get 6 songs done for $300 in an 8-track studio,
Mhm.
and that $300 includes tracking, vocals,
Right.
mixing,
Right.
press, all of it. You know.
Right.
Um, but that's what we did. I did that for with my gospel band. That was 12 years, and it was like we only practiced on Saturdays, but it was every Saturday for 12 years. I mean, we
Mhm.
might have missed 4 Saturdays in 12 years.
Mhm.
And we did, you know, we did concerts at churches and wherever, the whole bit. But curiously, it's really apropos that we're having this conversation. I got my start, and I don't think I decided to go after it. I think the music decided for me.
Ah.
Um,
Music has a way of doing that, doesn't it?
you know, it just won't let you go, whether you know
Right.
it or not.
Exactly.
You know,
Mhm.
but Michael Norfleet, who I know you know,
Mhm. Mhm.
um, was in my band,
Mhm.
and
The great
he,
Michael Norfleet, by the way,
the great,
keyboardist
fabulous, you
extraordinaire.
know,
Mhm.
and
Shout out to
and
Michael.
goofy personality and
Yes.
snack eating, you
Yeah.
know, Michael Norfleet. You know,
Yeah,
yeah,
that Michael Norfleet.
if you want to get Michael over, you just tell him for the snacks that you
Yeah.
have. You know, have plenty of plenty of red dye 29 chips with
Mhm.
spice and
Mhm. In fact, I think that's the first question you ask before pay. What are we gonna have to eat? So right, right, right.
hits his waistline,
Yes, yes.
which he's working on now. By the way, he's doing
Uh-huh.
great.
Mhm.
But anyway, you know, Michael was the person we knew that had more equipment than anybody. You know,
Mm.
Michael's parents were musicians, and so you know he had an ARP before anyone. The first ARP that I saw, and he had a
Mhm.
piano room, a grand piano, and he had a, I don't remember if it was the Fostex 4-track, you know.
Mhm.
And so I used to go over to his house and write and record my songs, and we would write together and kind of learn technology. So when Michael got in Switch, I'm pretty sure he left my band to get in Switch for the first time. Uh, and he uh, he was an advocate for me.
Mhm.
always passing my tapes around. So he gave a tape to Philip. I don't know if you know this story, but he gave a tape of my songs to Philip,
Mhm.
and Philip kept it. And 3 years later, a guy called Philip for a job, and he thought about that my voice would be good for this job. So he
Mhm.
called me from my phone number on the cassette tape. I know most of your listeners don't know what cassettes are, but this little thing about this kind
You'd
of
be
like about
surprised.
this
Right.
size, and
Right.
music that had spinning tape on it.
Right. Right. And don't let that tape come out of the case.
Right. Don't rewind
Uh,
too many. Don't hit stop start too fast.
right. Right.
Um, and so he called me.
I didn't know it was 3 years. I knew the story, but I didn't know it was 3 years later.
Yeah, and
Wow.
I had moved. My phone number changed twice since the number he had on the cassette. So
Hmm.
somehow he tracked me down and
Hmm.
found me, and he called me and he said, there's this audition. I think you'd be good for it. You should go, audition for this song on this guy's record.
Hmm.
So I went, and the guy had me singing and auditioning for 1 hour. He had me singing this song over and over again for 1 hour because he had a
Wow.
song. First of all, do you know who Howard Smith is?
That name sounds familiar.
Used to sing with Andre Crouch. Beautiful. If you heard of me, voice, beautiful, beautiful voice. Very similar to Donny Hathaway's, but his
Oh,
own.
wow. Wow.
And Howard had sung on this guy's album, a couple albums for this guy, but he wanted a
Hmm.
singer like Howard, and I don't know why he didn't just call Howard to do it.
Hmm.
I don't. Maybe Howard felt. I don't know why. Anyway,
Hmm.
I auditioned. While I was auditioning, Daryl Finnessy, who was very good friends with Philip, was
Hmm.
outside waiting because he was auditioning after me, but he was
Hmm.
listening. He heard me singing. So when I finished, Daryl was like, he couldn't believe that we hadn't met. He didn't know why I wasn't in the business, and why he
Hmm.
didn't know who I was, because
Hmm.
he loved my voice, and he was just like, what? Who are you? What are you doing? Why don't I know who you are? So anyway,
Not
he invited me to
wow.
his house. I went to his house for dinner. We became friends. At that time, both Daryl and Philip were starting to beginning to not do demos anymore. Because demos
Hmm.
you can make $100,
Right.
$200, whatever
Right.
you could negotiate,
Hmm.
$50.
Hmm.
And so, and a lot of that work is just not pleasant work.
Right. Hmm.
And
I
you get
know.
too big to do it. You get to the point where you don't have to do it anymore.
Hmm.
You do
Hmm.
as many as you can when you have to. And then
Hmm.
if Philip and Daryl were like, we ain't gonna do so many demos anymore.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so they started giving me that work. And Daryl started referring that work to me, and he called Philip and he said, and they kind of decided together they'd make a concerted effort to send that work to me.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
and then about a month later, about 3 months later, Daryl called me to sing on a Stevie Wonder record,
Mhm. Mhm.
which I got to do. And then in that July, uh, we auditioned for the Michael Jackson tour and got the Bad tour. And
Wow, just like that.
yeah, I mean, like 6 months time, 7 months time.
Now, I just want to make sure that we have the time thing right. Okay, you come in professionally at 29. Okay, and Michael Jackson happens. Oh no, let's start with Stevie. That happens how many years
I was
later?
still 28 when that happened.
Oh,
And then
28.
in
Okay.
July, because my birthday is in July of 29 when I got the
Okay.
Michael gig, and my whole life
Less
changed.
than a year.
Well, I mean, as you well know, as you well know, I mean, everything I was doing previous to that it was really like from
Right, right.
17 to 29, because that's
Understood.
where I was learning. That's when I was in school, quote unquote.
Understood.
That's when I
Gotcha.
was, that's what put me, that's what gave me the skills
Mhm.
to be able to get, Daryl to
Mhm.
call me and to trust me and to be able to go on a Stevie job and be able to hang with people who were doing it every day,
Mhm. Mhm.
doing 10, 20 sessions a week,
Mhm.
professional paid.
What speaks volumes
Yeah.
to you and your talent. I mean,
Which is,
that.
what the funny thing is one of my first gigs. I was laughing about this with someone. One of my first gigs was a Gladys Knight record after
Mm.
the Stevie thing.
Mhm.
I think it was that winter,
Mhm.
and I foolishly went to that gig, and they were moving so slow to me, and
Oh.
in my mind, like wasting so much, because I was like used to doing stuff with my band where we only have this amount to spend.
Move.
So this
Mhm.
has to,
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
So it's like, and I was teaching, just like you, I was teaching
Mhm.
all the parts, I was writing the songs in my band. I was making making cassettes with the soprano and the alto and the tenor part on the vocals, and and so I mean, I was like a machine, and
Uh-huh.
so I didn't know any better. I took the session over, and I'd like started giving out parts and telling people what to do, and like getting moving stuff, and just like, and it didn't really sit well with the person who called me for the gig, because
Mm-hmm.
I was
Mm-hmm.
too green to know that what I was supposed to do is just go and keep my mouth shut and sing what I was told to sing.
Mm-hmm. Again,
Even
that naivete you were just talking about earlier. Uh-huh.
I was like, so we got one song done in 2 hours.
Uh-huh.
With the vocals on one song. In
Mm-hmm.
2 hours, I would have tracked,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
done Bee Gees, done the lead,
Mm-hmm.
and been asked the engineer, when can I come in the mix?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Stuff wasn't that good, but I thought it was great.
Okay.
I thought it was amazing.
Right.
My goal was to get in there and get out.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
So, I had to learn. I had to learn to keep my mouth shut. so I could work.
But learn you did.
Well, sort of. As
Okay.
you can probably tell by this interview. I don't know. You kind of talk a lot.
No, it's all good. Because again, I mean, people need to know, the things that we've all gone through, that we continue to go through, to make it to make it where we make it.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
It's funny. The other night, me and my youngest we had our first argument, our first plague argument the other night,
mhm.
and she was like, "What's wrong with you?" I said, "Like, you just talk too much. You get to talk and you don't let nobody else talk." And she was like, "You talk way more than I do."
You said that. You said that.
I was mad. I
I
was
guess.
upset.
I
I
guess.
was upset. I had COVID made me,
Mhm,
I'm a patient guy. I have a long, long fuse, but I had it.
mhm, mhm. When
But
they
it
say
was,
we're
but it was
exhausted, I
good.
mean that's.
We kissed and
Mhm,
made up.
mhm, mhm. So and now you're with Michael Jackson. You're touring with Michael Jackson. And I mean, you were there for, I mean, a while.
Yeah, yeah, man.
How was that? How was that? To,
It was crazy. It was
mhm,
crazy.
mhm.
Just
Fast moving.
well, yes and no. The rehearsal was really fast because they hired it took the band and the dancers had been hired 2 months,
Hmm.
and it took them a long time to hire the singers. Everybody in town auditioned for that gig.
Mm.
It was a lot of people hating me because nobody knew who I was, and I came in out of nowhere and got this gig. And
Was it really like that? I mean, you could
oh, it
feel
really
that.
was. It because
Wow.
I just made some friends from the Stevie Wonder Association, so I was just kind of big meeting people.
Hmm. Hmm.
And after getting the Michael gig, it was like there were there were
Mm.
a couple of people that for years didn't speak to me because
Wow.
they thought that it was some way that we got in and we're able to see what happened what happened was
What have happened?
the audition process for the singers was a cattle call. So
Ah.
they put out this national call to people,
Hmm.
and just singers from everywhere, all over LA and New York, came in to audition for this.
Hmm.
And uh, what what they were doing is they would look at the photos, and they would put groups of 4 people together, and then they would call those people, and they would say, your appointment is at 11 a.m. on Monday.
Hmm.
People would come in, they put them in a room, they learn these 3 songs, they'd go in for half hour, an hour, learn the MJ songs, and then they'd put them on video auditioning. An hour is not enough to prepare for a Michael Jackson song.
I'm sure.
I mean, it just takes, so anyway, after this happened with about 400 people, fortunately, Daryl has a particular, he has personality traits that were made it sure that he would be successful.
Mm.
So he had gotten a job with Dolly Parton for her TV show. She had
Hmm.
just been signed for a TV contract for a variety show, and she was hiring singers who were going to be part of the cast.
Hmm.
And it was a 4-day-a-week gig, paid a lot of money, and she had a guaranteed 2-year contract,
Wow.
which
Nice.
hardly ever happens. And so he
No.
was one of the singers that got that gig. So they were calling him to see if he was going to accept the gig. He had done the Michael Jackson audition. He really wanted to do that because he would rather travel than stay home and do the Dolly Parton gig. So he calls in. He goes, "What have you hired the singers? For the Michael Jackson gig? Because I got another gig and I need to know." And they were like, "No, they haven't." So the time passed. So he called in a second time, and he goes, "Same thing. You found the people yet? No." And he knew who auditioned for that song. I mean, for that gig. The best singers in town. And he couldn't understand why nobody was hired yet. So he said, "What's taking so long? I don't understand why you haven't hired anybody yet." So the guy, his name is Nelson Hayes. He was conducting the auditions. He said, "Well, Michael is looking for something particular. He's looking for some people who sing together. They are a group. And he wants them to be able to sing jazz with those tight harmonies, and they need to be able to sing pop, and they need to be able to sing R&B, because Michael's vocal style is all, Michael's vocal style takes from Sammy Davis, to James Brown, and everything in between."
Right.
So Daryl said, well, can I come back for a second audition? I'd like to bring my group in, because my group can do that. And they said, "Yeah, okay. So your audition is on Sunday at 6:00. So he called after that. He didn't have a group, but he knew, because of where Daryl's head is, he knew what they meant, even though they didn't know what they meant. And Michael sings all of his vocals on his album. And so it's a particular style, it's a particular sound. He puts percussion hits in between his lyrics, and he uses breaths in the same place that some people would use a word. Breaths are like hits. He sings some of his stuff like horn parts and some like string parts. It's a particular thing. You can't just get up just singing like you sing on a mic, not and have it sound like, you got to do what he does.
Right.
So anyway,
and no disrespect to vocalists, but it's not just about singing. It's not just singing. There's a whole thing involved there.
It ain't just that, and if you can't do it, you can't learn it fast and do it effectively. You got to study it.
You got to study it, right?
You have to find out what it is specifically. I mean, it's just much like we were talking about the Marvin Gaye record. It's for it to be authentic, and for Michael fans to go, "Yeah, that's Michael." I mean, his brothers couldn't even do it. I don't mean any disrespect, but they didn't. I mean, they were already stars, so they didn't. I don't know what the reason is if they didn't treat it like that, but it did. When you hear them doing Michael songs, Heartbreak Hotel, whatever, it's not the same as the stuff. So, and again, I don't mean that disparagingly.
Right.
I mean it's a specific universe. But so he called me, and he called Sheryl Crow, and he called Kevin Dorsey, and Monday morning we went over to Daryl's at like 9:30 in the morning, and we all piled in my Jeep, and we went to the Warehouse record store. I know people don't, record store. They're like, "What's a record store?" We went and we bought some.
And that's the Warehouse, right? WATRE.
There you go.
Right?
Not WARE.
I'm totally dating myself here.
Hey, so we know some stuff that other folk don't know.
Boy, right?
So we went to the record store and we bought some Michael records. We went back to Daryl's house and we picked out 3 of Michael's songs. Heartbreak Hotel was one of them. We picked the best vocal show-off songs. And we picked a song called Jukebox Saturday Night, which is like a 1950s soda fountain, a barbershop quartet song with 4-part harmonies that are all like this. I mean, it's.
I love it.
Yeah. And so we worked on that stuff all day long. And one of the reasons why me and Daryl hit it off was because the way I was with my band, Daryl is the same way. He's like a stickler for detail, can hear and see stuff that other people might not think is important. And so we dug into all of those nuances, and it was really, for me, having had my band and being the only person, one have to tell everybody what to do. And if somebody missed something, I had to be the one to, not only have to do my part as the lead singer, but I had to do everybody else's part too. but to have another kindred spirit who was like exactly
Who got
like
it?
me, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and it was just a relief to work with somebody like that, where somebody that I could learn from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I mean, and in addition to all of what I've said, he's super intense. I mean, he's
Mm-hmm.
so intense that one of his high school buddies gave him the nickname Captain Intenso from the planet Sirius. that's his, that's I don't even probably don't need to tell you nothing else, you know.
Right. I love it. Captain Intenso from the planet Sirius.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
He probably hate that I tell you that, but I'm telling you, man, we shedded that stuff all day. We went about 6 o'clock. We went to Francis Coppola had a movie studio that he had just bought, and that's where they were rehearsing. We went down. We we rehearsed. I sang everything a cappella. You know, there with his pitch pipe, giving us our notes.
Mm-hmm.
Put everything on video.
Mm-hmm.
And Nelson called us at midnight and said we got the job.
The group.
Yeah, we got it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
we got it.
And this
So
is you, Kevin Dorsey, Daryl Fennessy, and Cheryl Crow.
yeah, yeah. And so
Just like that.
they'd been rehearsing for 2 months.
And like you said before, now there was no group. Now Daryl calls and says, "Let me get my group." There was no group.
But what he understood is that
I mean, technically.
what Nelson was explaining to him was, had Nelson been like if I had had the gig, or Daryl or Philip or you,
Mm-hmm.
would have said, Michael needs somebody. This is how Michael's background vocals work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But he needs somebody to be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now if he had said that to some of those other 400 people that auditioned, and if they'd had the time to prepare like we did, rather than having a half hour or an hour or whatever it was, we wouldn't have never seen that audition. Because there's so many people that came through that audition capable of doing that. You know, I mean, like I said, it was the best singers in town. Some of the best singers in town auditioned for that. But you know, for Daryl, first of all, I don't think you can discount Providence. No. But for Daryl having the wherewithal to like call back and to ask questions, this is something that we, this I don't know if this is something that will cross over to, we're talking, you hear the conversation today about having access or having, privilege, the position, the position that privilege puts you in, or, and I believe that, my dad always had me read how-to books. My dad was a salesman. And so he was like always trying to sell better and how to do better. And so I read books, psychology books, and how to be successful and how to close the deal and how to negotiate and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, I was brought up with that. And
always a voracious reader.
Say it again.
Always the voracious reader. I mean, you read.
Man, I love this. There's not much I love more than reading. What I say to my daughters, and I say to people that I mentor, is they tell us what the rules are. Here are the rules. You go to an audition. We ask you what you're going to sing. We ask you a little about your name and a little bit about your background. You get up and sing. What we don't know is that we don't have to just stand there and only answer questions. We can ask questions. I can decide, maybe I want this job. I might not want the job.
Wow.
The way I look at it when I go to an audition, I might not want to work with this person. I might not like the person's personality. I might not like how they talk to people. I might not want this job. I get to, so I have some say so. And so, and I hope this isn't perceived as an arrogance, but rather if I can look at this audition as, you ain't picking me, I'm picking you. That changes the whole energy, and the whole dynamic changes.
Wow, what a great point that is. Because I mean, any musician, we don't look at it that way. Hey, you're auditioning for me like I'm auditioning for you. So
we're begging, basically. We're like, we're like, oh, please choose me.
There you go. You're right.
And that the dynamic between those two elements is the
Mm-hmm.
same energy between a
Wow,
man
what
and
a
a
great
woman.
point. Mm-hmm.
It's the same,
Mm-hmm.
like a woman doesn't want a weak man.
Mm-hmm.
A woman
Mm-hmm.
don't want no begging man, no matter how much money you have, no matter how handsome you are. I mean, even though some women will beat a man into submission and make him weak if he believes it and if he gives into
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody likes a weak person.
Mm-hmm.
We really like somebody who's confident, who stands up for themselves, and who is just happy and free.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so one of the things that I teach about auditioning,
Mm-hmm.
and I teach about
Wow.
performing. I coach performing, and I
Mm-hmm.
just say, you you know you they're there to listen to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even though, I mean, so take American Idol. Even though the dynamic on American Idol is always they're there to judge you, it's like you don't have to accept that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to accept. Don't take in your mind that I hope you
Uh-huh.
please
He hope you
choose
pick
me
me.
so I
Right.
can move.
Right.
Like just relax.
Mm-hmm.
Again, not arrogance, but just I'm a free black man. I am a
Mm-hmm.
free black man. It
Mm-hmm.
don't
Mm-hmm.
matter to me. Just like in this whole conversation, what we're talking about that's in the
Mm-hmm.
atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what white people do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't care
Mm-hmm.
what black people do. And
Mm-hmm.
none of it has anything to do with me. I
Mm-hmm.
don't care if you think I'm less than human, if you think I have a tail, you think I'm not as smart as you are. It's like, you know what? When God made me, he was only looking at me. There ain't nobody that sings like me. It ain't nobody that walks like me. It ain't nobody that smiles. There's
Talk.
nobody who
Preach,
gives
brother.
like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't mean that I discount what people are going through and the
Right.
pain
Right.
people are
Mm-hmm.
in, but some of it, but also we have to find, we need to find, where is some of this pain self-induced.
Mm. Mm.
But policeman pulls me up over, this is a long departure, and I
Mm-hmm.
hope that I don't want to get into a preaching mode, but
No, preach, preach, brother. Please preach.
I'll tell you a story. About 2 months ago, it's hard to tell what time is now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think
I'm watching.
I think it was 2 months, 1 month ago.
Mm-hmm.
I was out taking my walk. I got up. It was dark, and we live in a really nice neighborhood that's surrounded by a neighborhood that is not so nice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I went to take my walk about 6 blocks away. I had my headphones on, uh, listening to a podcast. I come around this corner. Now, the where I'm walking, the 18th Street gang is 18th Street is a couple of blocks away. I walk up
Mm-hmm.
18th Street is a hill. It's one of the hills I walk up, and
Mm-hmm.
they're
Mm-hmm.
rough. They're really,
Mm-hmm.
really, really rough.
Mm-hmm.
So I come around this corner, and since I'm like caught up in the world of this podcast, and I'm watching Lovecraft Country. I don't know if you know what that is, but if you're not watching it, you should watch it. It's
Okay.
amazing.
Lovecraft.
Lovecraft Country. It is.
Why does that sound familiar?
Woo!
Okay. Lovecraft. Go.
I love horror and fantasy and sci-fi, and it's like, and old-fashioned kind of stuff,
Uh-huh.
and it's black too. It's
Okay.
so good. It ain't blackety black, but it's black. Uh, anyway, it's really, really good. But if you watch it, you should listen to their companion podcast because it's so
Oh wow.
dense that I hope this doesn't put anybody off. You'll only benefit from listening to the podcast. Each one time you watch an episode, listen to that companion podcast.
Okay.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the departure.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't pay me to say that. I walk around this corner, and out of the corner of my eye, this SUV pulls up, and I can see just the top of somebody's head walking around the SUV, but I'm just really not even paying attention. I'm just about to turn the corner and go towards
Mm-hmm.
18th Street. Big dude, big old strap. I mean, like big old muscular, like Marvel superhero guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he
Mm-hmm.
has on like kind of police gear, but kind of riot gear, but gear like I've never seen before. I'm sure you could tell that he was special something,
Right.
but it wasn't SWAT and it wasn't LAPT. I don't know what it was.
Uh-huh.
And he comes around, he walks right up to me, and I've got the podcast on, and he's like, he's talking to me and I can't hear him. I got this on. And so, and then, in my periphery, I see other officers, couple of one female and coming from out of the thing, and someone comes out of the apartment and he's like telling me to put my hands out in front of me. And so, I'm telling him, I can't hear you. I got my earphones in. And so my mind is racing. We're in the midst of all of this turmoil. And I said, and also, when you got headphones and you start talking, you're yelling too loud. So kind of trying to be conscious of that and not trying to be too aggressive, trying to be, so he, finally he takes the ones that take the one out of the other ear, he takes that one out. He's turn around, put your hands behind your back. I turn around, put my, like, oh man, I got a bump shoulder. I'm like, I hope he's not getting ready to like slam me or, and if he like gets my hand, so he holds my hands, he pulls my wrists up so that he could easily subdue me if I do anything, but he doesn't hurt me or anything. And he just starts, he says, you have any ID on you? And so anyway, long story short, they were coming to this apartment because they were looking for a dude about my size, black dude, weight, whatever. And they tell me all this. And as I don't have any ID on me, I said, I live a few blocks away. I'm just out here my walk. This is not, I don't live in this apartment. I wouldn't have lived here when I didn't have no money. So finally, when they, realize that it isn't me, they are very polite and they tell me what they're looking for this guy here. And, they were afraid that he had left and blah, blah, blah. And they let me go. And and they were very sensitive to the fact that it's a lot of stuff going on. And so they were really, really polite and trying to make sure I was okay. And I was like, say, look, I have the utmost respect for the police. I know we need the police. I'm glad you do what you do. I don't think all cops are bad or nuts. And thank you. And so I went off, finished my walk. I come home. My wife is up. I start making breakfast, making her coffee. She's telling me about blah, 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 And so, and a couple of hours later, she says, so how was your walk? And I tell her, and somehow she says something somehow or another, she says something that makes me tell her the story. And she looks at me and she goes, you let all this time go by and you didn't tell me this story? And I was like, I mean, I knew we'd get around to it. And I don't think I've told anybody except for you. I don't think I told anyone else. And I told the story just to say that my attitude is, the police stop people sometime. And for me, if a policeman stops me, he's got a job. I'm going to be polite as him as I want people to be to me when I'm behind the microphone. When people call me on a gig, I want them to be polite to me. I want them to be nice to me. And I've always gotten that. I've never been slung across the car, never been pushed around, never been treated disrespectfully. I'm 63 years old, I've been pulled over a number of times. So I'm just trying to relate this to what I was saying earlier about my attitude, my energy. If I'm going to an audition, if I'm stopped by a police officer, if I'm in a negotiation, in that I think there's a way, and I would love to impart this to somebody who doesn't have anything better to do than to listen to me, is that it has a lot to do with me. What happens to me, I know this stuff happens to people that they don't have no control over. I'm naive, I ain't that naive. Obviously it does. I know that does. But most of the stuff that happens to me, almost every day, and nearly in every way, I have control. I have some measure of, I have something to do with how that thing turns out. That's really, I was in a long way to, that's what I was trying to say.
And that makes sense too. And like I said, I'm glad you brought that point. And that's a very important point, that we should go into auditions like with that mindset. And like you said, it totally changes the whole dynamic of the audition, let alone you as like that person that's auditioning, but the whole dynamic just totally changes. And as far as like what you put into it, so that's an excellent point. And I
Yeah,
wonder how many people do look at it that way.
well, it's difficult because we're not in a position of strength.
Mm-hmm.
We're going saying, I would love to have this job,
That's
you
it.
know.
And they know that. And
And
they know that.
and sometimes we're going, we don't even care what the job is. We just need the money the job pays.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so, yeah, and you're right, they do
Mm-hmm.
know that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if we can, this is all I'm seeking to do. Only thing I'm seeking to do is I'm seeking to feel good
Mm-hmm.
in an audition. If I can sing, if I can feel good, I can sing good.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm worried, if I think this guy is cuter than me or taller than me or lighter than me or whatever, if I'm worried about it, those are just a few of the things there are to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
Did I do well? Did I remember the lyrics? Are they gonna like me?
Mm-hmm.
All of those things infuse your presence there
Mm-hmm.
with energy that's bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's all bad energy stuff. I got to pay my
Mm-hmm.
bills. My car broke down.
Right.
You know, I got to help my mom out. All of that stuff is energy that's bad. And if you can take your focus off of those things, the energy of your performance is going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
That might be the only thing that makes you different. I mean, that guy might be singing way better than me,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe he's got that weird energy and I
Mm-hmm.
don't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, because I can't control if the guy is cuter than me.
Mm-hmm.
I can't control if he's older than me or younger than me. I can't control, I can't control if he's got better clothes than me.
Right.
Right. I can look the best I can look with what I have. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But what I can control is, I can pray before I go to bed. I can pray when I get up. I can be in prayer when I don't have an audition. I can be working on me. I can be like reading stuff that says, here's another thing I say. I'm gonna get off of this. When you're going up to sing on American Idol stage, like the kids that come here that have made it and get are blessed to be able to perform in that situation. You done sung a million times, whether it's be at your church or whether you're in a club doing covers or in your bedroom. You sung a million times and they ain't felt nothing.
Mm-hmm.
All you got to do is get yourself in that same space where you don't feel anything. And if you can remove all that extra, because you ain't gonna be doing nothing but singing. Right. You're gonna be doing something you already know how to do, and you obviously know how to do it well, or you wouldn't have got this far. So I just try to teach people to put all that stuff in a particular basket. Just put all of that crap that impedes us in a basket, because it's really just your head that's like screwing you.
Got you.
Really is. So just put all that stuff in there and get rid of all that stuff. Go up there and be free. Go get up there and be a free Black man.
There you go. I love it. Dorian, man, and I knew this was going to happen because there's like so much to talk about. And I mean, you're like a wealth of information, and I love that. And I know you're, as far as time, we have time constraints here. There is, actually, I did want to ask you as far as like and you kind of touched upon that as far as like you being a judge on American Idol, and what is it that you look for in people that come before you? What is it that separates like one from another? I mean, what do you look for as far as like improving them? And I think you kind of touched upon that in what you just said.
Well, for me, I take what I get. They send me whoever they pick. I don't pick them. You know what I mean? I'm not a part of the process that chooses people who will be on the show. By the time they get to me, we have 40 kids or 24 kids or whatever point, and where they're divided up between, when I first went to Idol, there were 2 coaching teams. So it was like, if it was top 24, I had 12 and the other coach had 12. And then as time went on, we did it that way for 5 or 6 years. And then we added some, by the time I left, there were 4 coaching teams. But it was basically, you get whoever is, it's more or less a democratic process. And you get this 8 or 10 or whatever the number is, and they get that one. And so I don't really choose anything. What I do is I see myself as a person. I can help anybody sing better.
Oh, okay.
My job is
are there traits in vocalists that you can like oh man, a vocalist has like a certain thing that maybe prevents them from getting to like the next level? Are there things that can be changed in vocalist, I guess, voice or
Well,
whatever,
I
that can
don't.
be repaired? I guess I don't know if that's the right word, but I think you know where I'm going.
Well, one of the things you got to realize for these shows is it ain't about the singing, as I'm sure you really know
Mhm.
if you've
Right,
watched them.
right. And I guess I mean like overall, not just them, but just overall.
There are definitely mechanical, technical things that I can help somebody with to help them perform better.
Hmm.
I can teach you how to, I can send you away and you can come back to me a better singer.
Mm.
If I, there on these shows, there isn't enough time for
Right,
vocal
right, right, right.
coaching.
Hmm.
There's really only enough time for stuff like that, for technical things like how to
Hmm.
improve your memory, I can give you tips on how to remember, learn a song faster. I can help you with the psychological part of it. I can tell you what you're going to be dealing with, what could happen.
Hmm.
And also there's the technical aspect of this week we have a particular time constraint. The song we're never doing a full song. We're never doing a 3.5 minute
Right,
song.
right,
We're doing
right.
100. We're doing a minute and 20 seconds of a song. So I help
Hmm.
them cut a song so that the song feels like you're hearing the audience is hearing the whole
Right,
song that
right.
they know and have heard all their lives. So there's that. Ideally they come to me having chosen a song, but but there's invariably there's a couple who haven't been able to choose because they're nervous or they don't know, they don't have enough experience to pick from the song list. They don't know,
Hmm.
they
Hmm.
don't know, the things that I know about picking a good song, and I can kind of help them with that part of it.
Hmm. Hmm.
So yeah, so there's like a limited number of boxes to check off when they come in
Hmm.
the room with me, and you know we may have an hour, we may have less.
Hmm.
On a typical day, you got an hour with me
Hmm.
and no more, because
Hmm.
because they're doing 1,000 other things in addition to working on their song performance. Going to take
Gotcha.
pictures. They're going to the opening for the new Shrek movie. They
Right.
want to take pictures. You know what I mean? All you just
Hmm. Hmm.
going to talk on Good Morning America to promote the show. You know,
Gotcha.
so there's a lot to do.
Hmm.
But when they come in with me in an hour, I can they'll leave me a better performer than they came with. And their job,
Okay.
when they're the people, the producer's job, when they're in the choosing portion of the show, is to pick people that they think not only present well and that the audience of people will want to watch,
Hmm.
um, who have something interesting about their life to add to the performance part,
Hmm.
because they're making a TV show.
Right.
No,
Right.
that's
Right.
that takes precedent over any music,
Exactly.
all of
Right.
it, because
Right.
you got to make people watch.
It's still the
And
business. Hmm.
yeah.
Hmm.
So there's a lot that goes into it,
Hmm.
but my gig is to help somebody feel better on stage, so that they can get closer to all of that stuff we talked about, which is just like a confident, comfortable performer that somebody, because a performer can get up and make people feel weird and
Hmm.
make people feel stuff that they can't even articulate,
Right.
because
Hmm. Hmm.
there's some other things going on. And
Right.
our job, and the job of the performer, is either to use that weirdness as a part of who they are as an artist,
Hmm.
um, or to hide it during the time that they're on stage,
Hmm. 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 And
so
this is
that
outside,
they.
and like I said, we're focusing on right now. We're focusing on Idol, but I mean, this is just period. I mean, even outside of
Yeah,
that, and
you know,
you're. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, you go. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask, and you do that. You are a vocal coach. I mean, not just there, but I mean, that's one of the things that you do. That's one of the things on your
Right.
resume. Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like, I taught before. I taught at a college. But one of the things that prepared me for the job, learning to speak English, was the first thing I had to do. One of the things that
We're all
prepared
struggling with
me
that.
that prepared me for, being Black, man, you speak two languages basically, and sometimes the two meet inappropriately, and don't nobody know what you said.
Right. Right.
Why for he talking like that?
You know what I'm saying? You know what
You
I'm
know what I'm
saying?
saying? Oh
You know what
God,
I'm
that's
saying?
you say, man. No, actually, I was hoping you explained to me because I
Right.
don't.
Right.
Uh, I don't even remember what. Woo, my attention span, boy, it ain't too long. You know.
But
Oh, I was.
as far as your vocal coaching. Mhm.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. What I believe that what I teach are lessons for life,
Mm,
lessons for your life,
mhm.
because when I taught at a college before, that was the gig that prepared me to do American Idol. All those kids that come through as music majors not going to be musicians.
Mhm. Mhm.
Many of them are going to be something else,
Mhm.
and but they go away from uh, having been taught by me with some stuff they can use for what if they become a nurse,
Mhm.
you
Mm.
know,
Life
or whatever
lessons.
it is. Yeah,
Mhm. Mhm.
because the stuff that applies to performance, it can and often does apply to real life.
There you go. There you go. Listen, time is running short. I got to ask you one more question. Okay.
And
And
you know,
thank you again for,
it's going to take
thank
me
you.
10 minutes to answer it, right? That's what you're asking now. God,
Um, of everything
I
you've
sure
done.
hope you don't go away from going, dang, he was
No, no, no.
long-winded.
Not
Jeez.
at all. Not at all. Of everything you've done. And like I said, we barely even scratched the surface of things you've done. But one of the most iconic roles that you did, I'm referring to the movie The Five Heartbeats.
Ah, everybody's
And
favorite
and you are the please, and I'm gonna let you do this. You are the voice of the singing voice of
choir boy.
talk about a range there. And I'm listening to you talk now, and your range is there. And Choir Boy was like up there, or I should say, Dorian Holley was up there, right?
Well,
Right.
let us be clear. I cannot hit those notes anymore. Five Heartbeats was I think it was done late 90s. I'm not sure. It was like 89,
Hmm.
maybe 90, 91.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
got to look up and see when it was. That was a
And
long time ago.
and of
Uh,
course the classic sing, Choir Boy, take it to church, Choir Boy, take it there. And Dorian took it to church.
Man, that was one of my favorite jobs that I had. When they do a music movie,
Hmm.
they usually shoot the movie and then they find a way to stick music in it.
Hmm.
They shoot the movie and then they tell them to write the songs and then they work that way. And what I loved about the way Robert Townsend did this was he had the songs written and had us perform and record the songs, and then they shot to the songs.
Mm. Hmm.
And I mean, there may have been some dramatic stuff that they did before, but it was about the music, and the music really was the foundation of the movie. So we got to
Hmm.
go in. He would tell the producer Steve Tyrell, who's a dear friend of mine, a great
Hmm.
guy who's now
Hmm.
an artist himself.
Yes.
That's a funny story too, because he was only a producer when I met him,
Uh-huh.
and now that's a whole long story. But anyway, so we with Steve, I don't think Robert ever came, but Steve always said, "Okay, well, this is what this scene is about, and this song is kind of based on this particular Dell song or this particular Temptation song.
Hmm.
We want a song that's in that same universe without copying that song, and so this is the vibe of it. And the great thing about working with Steve is the singers really create the song. I
Mm.
mean, the song
Hmm.
is written and stuff, but
Hmm.
came up with the parts. Um, and I mean, we did it,
Hmm.
and it was just so much fun because the songs were like the songs we grew up loving and listening to. And
Hmm.
then Steve, okay, well, so choir boy is supposed to hit this note right here, so Dorian hit this note, and I would, "Wah!" and it said, no, it needs to be higher than that. Oh, would it be this? And it was like, yeah, that's
Wow.
it,
Wow. Really? It needs to
yeah,
be higher
yeah,
than that.
because he's gonna, he's leaving and he's mad, and then he starts singing this note from backstage, and we got to hear it from back there, and it has to come out
Hmm.
here, and so it was just a lot of fun making it. And then when they got some of those songs and started playing them with audiences, Robert started seeing how the girls were reacting when that stuff was happening. So he had me hit a couple of notes that he had to sing. I don't know how that was supposed to work. It's still choir boy's voice, but I got a couple of high notes. You know the kind of thing that happens in a band
Right,
dynamic when
right,
guys
right, right.
that
Uh-huh,
the guy that sings high is getting the most girls,
uh-huh,
and it's just that whole. It was
right.
that kind of thing. So so that
Right.
was a lot of fun.
Wow,
It was
wow.
just it was and it was a long period. It was it was weeks and weeks that we were working on it because it
Really?
was yeah I mean it
Mhm,
seems like we were going over there every week for a couple of months,
mhm,
a couple of times a week. And then I met a bunch of new, God rest his soul, met D Harvey at the end of he became like the new voice of the band,
mhm,
and he sang that last song. We lost D some
mhm,
time ago,
mhm.
but and I didn't know. Oh man, his name is escaping me. The guy with the rough voice.
With the Dells?
Well, no, the guy in who also came to the five heartbeats had like
Oh,
three lead
oh, oh, right, right,
singers.
right. Okay.
The
Mhm,
second lead singer, after Eddie Kane left.
mhm, mhm.
Oh God, I can't think of his
Eddie
name.
Kane
Great
left.
singer, kind of like he has a like a David Ruffin,
Mhm,
Marvin
mhm,
Jr. kind of vibe.
mhm.
Teddy Pendergrass,
Gotcha.
great, beautiful guy, lovely. Oh, I can't think of his name. I'm so ashamed of myself.
Mm.
But anyway, it was a great experience, man. I
Mhm,
mean, my
mhm.
favorite movie. I've sung on a lot of movies. It's my favorite one I ever
That's
did.
great to hear. That
Yeah,
really is. Because usually it's like there's some kind of nightmare story associated with like with things like that. But I mean, that's
yeah.
great to hear that it was a good experience for you.
And even with that one, there's some stuff that people aren't, but that happened with the actors. It didn't really happen with us,
Uh-huh.
fortunately.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I watched it not too long ago because I didn't watch it for a long time, but I watched it. I think I watched it like late last year, like
Hmm.
last winter.
And you had the experience that you just totally drew off of. I mean, you had the gospel experience, so it wasn't that you couldn't do it.
And and also, of course, sung, doo wop, Temptations, Jackson
Hmm.
5,
Right.
that kind of stuff. I mean
Right.
that. I mean, at high school, you're
Wow.
walking around with
Yeah.
no instruments at
Right.
lunchtime, trying to
Hmm.
find a spot with some acoustics to do some doo wop.
Oh yeah, that was all the hallways
The
with that
bathroom.
reverb. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. We had a
Hmm.
little spot under the stair. That would just because that first level was
There it
low.
is. Yes.
And that man,
Hmm.
all
Boy,
those great memories, right?
right, right, right. What was your reaction? I mean, I'm sure you had like a great did you see, the premiere? What was your reaction to that? I mean,
I
how
don't,
was that for you?
I don't even remember going to the movies to see it.
Really?
I don't remember seeing it.
But I'm sure did you get I'm sure you heard reaction. You got plenty of reaction from people
Oh
who
yeah,
did it.
yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
There's another movie you may not know about. You see Stir Crazy,
Yes,
Richard
yes,
Pryor. You
yes.
you know the scene when they're in jail and the big guy who killed his family, Grossberger. When he starts,
Right,
James
right,
Wilder's playing it, and he starts singing. All of a sudden, he has a
right.
voice, and first of all, he's never spoken. They're all
You know
afraid of.
what? When I saw that in the list of things you did, I couldn't remember who the character was. Now I do remember. I
Yeah,
remember
he's
that.
a big
Uh-huh.
bald guy
Yeah,
who's gonna pick up a house.
right.
So that was the first I did that voice by the
Hmm.
and
And again,
when
speaking of
I
your range.
when I got the when I got the job, I didn't know if I got gotten it because I went and I did an audition.
Uh-huh.
They never told me, "Great, you got the job."
Hmm.
And nearly 2 years later, I only found out nearly 2 years later when the movie came out. I said, "Let's go see that movie where I auditioned for and didn't get the part. I want to see who really they chose for that."
Hmm.
And when the part comes up, it's me. I'm like, "That's me. That's me singing." And
Mm.
I wasn't in the business per se,
Hmm. Hmm.
um, but I did that gig. But that was the first thing of me seeing me and hearing me on the screen, where it was like,
Wow.
and then what was really a trip was the guy actually could sing,
Ah,
and so because he could sing, the news media, TV Guide, uh,
TV guide.
they
Wow.
had it.
I forgot about that one.
Forgot about TV Guide. He
I
did an
totally
interview on
forgot.
TV Guide, and then this letters page, someone knew he was an opera singer, so they were like, "That was," it was saying he didn't sing, and it says, "No, it really was him because he really does sing." And it was a whole thing where I like wrote a letter to TV Guide, said, "Actually, I'm the person who can sing, but he didn't sing that. I sang it." And so there's just all this lore and
Wow.
not really
Mhm.
controversy, but you
Uh-huh.
know. in my universe controversy about that
There you go.
song. You know, because I'm very important to me in my world.
There you go. As well, you should be. Well,
Uh,
well, listen, Dorian. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for being on the playground with me, and thank you so much for like that again, that wealth of information. And I can't stress enough, we barely even scratch the surface as far as like the things that Dorian has done. Where can we keep up with everything, all things Dorian Holley?
well, I'm the DorianHolleyBand.com. That's my what is it called? What do you call it? A
The,
website?
the website.
It's all changing. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that thing.
Yeah. What is it to people? I don't know. You
Uh-huh.
know,
Uh-huh.
that may be money I could put in my pocket. I don't know if people even look at those anymore. What for? What? I'm not doing anything. I'm not going anywhere. I don't have any
Right,
T-shirts.
right.
You know, and you can find me. I'm on Instagram. You know, I'm on
Hmm.
Facebook.
Hmm.
And I
Hmm.
got a few things on YouTube. You can see me
Hmm.
singing. You know,
Excellent.
so it's Holly with an E, Holley.
There you go.
And that's it. But let me just say thank you.
Oh.
I
Mm.
appreciate speaking with you. It's been fun, and you made me remember some things that I've forgotten. So,
See, look at all that stuff you did. See,
like I did that. Yeah, no,
right,
it's been
right.
great, man, and
Thank
I'm
you.
happy to meet you through my dear friend Philip Ingram. And God bless you. I hope you and your family are well and safe and
Thank you.
sane. You
Likewise.
know,
Thank you.
and I'll talk to you again sometime soon. And
Dorian Holley. I'm
let me
sorry.
just say blessings to
Please.
anybody watching this.
Oh,
We just wish you guys all safety and blessings. God bless you.
Dorian Holley. Thank you again for being on the playground where the players play. Much love to you, brother.
Same to you. Thanks for having me, Eddie.
Until next time. Thank you.
Bye.
All
All right.
righty.